Hello everyone. In BioLessons, today's class is going to be about the master endocrine gland, which is also known as the pituitary gland. We will be discussing about all the major pituitary hormones as well as learn some easy tricks and mnemonics so that memorizing part for the NEET exam will be very easy. So let's look what we have in the topic today. Pituitary gland is a small endocrine gland and it is located in a bony cavity of sphenoid bone. What is sphenoid bone? Sphenoid bone is a butterfly shaped bone present in the skull and it is present behind the ears and the nose. Okay, so in the cavity of the sphenoid bone, which is also known as the sella turcica, the pituitary gland is located and it is connected to the hypothalamus by a stalk, and we call that stalk as infundibulum. Okay, now this pituitary gland is also known as the master endocrine gland because it helps in controlling the activity of other major hormones. That is why it is known as the master endocrine gland. Clear? Look at the image here showing the anatomy of the pituitary gland. This is the hypothalamus, this is the pituitary gland, and both are connected by a stalk also known as the infundibulum. Now, this pituitary gland is made up of two parts, okay? The anterior part also known as the adenohypophysis and the posterior part also known as the neurohypophysis. Now, if you pay close attention, hypothalamus is connected to the anterior part via the portal circulation. Okay, you can see this is a portal circulation and it connects the hypothalamus and the anterior pituitary. And if you see, the posterior pituitary is connected to the hypothalamus through nervous connection or through the axons. Okay, now this anterior pituitary is further made up of two parts, that is pars distalis and pars intermedia, and the posterior pituitary is made up of pars nervosa. Clear? So this is the all about the anatomy of pituitary gland. We'll be covering the hormones that are secreted or released by both anterior as well as the posterior pituitary. First, let's see the hormones that are synthesized by the anterior pituitary. You remember anterior pituitary has two parts, right? Pars distalis and pars intermedia. So these are the hormones that are synthesized by the pars distalis of anterior pituitary. Okay, you can remember them using a very simple mnemonic, that is flat pig. Flat pig, okay, not fat pig, flat pig. So F here is follicle stimulating hormone. What does it do? In case of females, it stimulates the growth as well as maturation of ovarian follicles. Okay, and in secretion of an important female hormone, that is estrogen. If you see the males, then FSH stimulates the formation of the sperms or causes spermatogenesis in the testes. Next hormone is L or luteinizing hormone, also known as the LH. Now this causes the ovulation in case of the females and formation of the progesterone hormone by the corpus luteum once the egg is released. Okay, in case of the males, if you see, luteinizing hormone stimulates the Leydig cells, that are the interstitial cells, to secrete the male hormone also known as the testosterone. You will read about it in the class 12th. Okay, don't worry about it now. Next, these FSH and LH, they together are affecting the male and female sex organs or the gonads. That's why they are together known as the gonadotropins. Okay. Next hormone is A or adrenocorticotropic hormone. In the word you have adenocortico, that means this ACTH hormone stimulates the adrenal cortex. And when is it stimulated? It is stimulated during the stress and when when metabolism is required by the body. Okay. And what does it do? It secretes glucocorticoids or the cortisol, androgens, as well as the mineralocorticoids. Okay. Next hormone is T, or the thyroid stimulating hormone, also known as the TSH. It stimulates the thyroid gland to grow. Now, this causes the release of two thyroid hormones, that is T3 or triiodothyronine and T4 or thyroxine. Okay. Next hormone is PL or PI or prolactin. Now this is produced typically after the childbirth, and it causes the mammary glands to secrete the milk or cause the lactation after the baby is born. Okay, prolactin is a very important hormone which also inhibits further ovulation during the lactation period. Okay, during the lactation period, just imagine if the egg is formed and again it is fertilized, again another baby is formed, then it will make the mother's body very weak. So what does prolactin do here? Prolactin produces mother's milk after childbirth. Also, it inhibits the ovulation during the lactation period. Clear? Next hormone is G, or the growth hormone, which is also known as a somatotropin. It stimulates the overall growth of the body, bones, muscles. How? By increasing the protein synthesis as well as the cell division. Okay, it also mobilizes and utilizes the glucose. Okay, so these are the functions of the hormones that are synthesized by the pars distalis of anterior pituitary. I hope you are clear now. Now come to the second part of the anterior pituitary, that is pars intermedia. This produces the MSH hormone, also known as the melanocyte stimulating hormone. As you know, melanin is produced by the melanocytes. So this MSH hormone influences the skin pigmentation. Okay. Another important thing you must remember, that the pars intermedia and the pars distalis, in case of humans, they are almost merged with each other. Okay, so MSH has a very little significance in humans if you compare it with the lower vertebrates. Okay, let's now talk about the second part of the pituitary gland, that is posterior pituitary, also known as neurohypophysis. Why it's known as neurohypophysis? Because it is typically the neural extension of the hypothalamus. The nerve endings of hypothalamic neurons, they extend a little further and form the posterior pituitary. That is why it is also known as the neurohypophysis. Okay. Now come to the hormone secretion. Does posterior pituitary synthesize any hormones? The answer is no. By itself, posterior pituitary does not synthesize any hormones, but it stores the hormones and releases them, that which are synthesized by the hypothalamus. Okay, so pay attention to the very important flow chart here. Hypothalamus, it produces the hormones, that is ADH and oxytocin. ADH is nothing but antidiuretic hormone. So these two hormones, ADH and oxytocin, which are produced, are transported through the axons to the neurohypophysis or the posterior pituitary, and they are stored in the neurohypophysis. And whenever the body gets the signal, that time these two hormones, ADH and oxytocin, are released into the blood. So very important point to remember is that neurohypophysis does not secrete the ADH and the oxytocin hormones. Hypothalamus secretes them or synthesizes them, and they are stored in the neurohypophysis as well as released when the body gets a signal. Okay, clear? We just discussed that there are two hormones that are released by the posterior pituitary. Number one is ADH, antidiuretic hormone, otherwise known as vasopressin. What does this ADH do? Whenever there is dehydration condition, body needs more water. So ADH that time increases the water reabsorption in the kidney, and this decreases the urine output and maintains the water that is required to be maintained in the body. Okay, so ADH, it helps in adding water back to the body. Very easy trick to remember. The second hormone, if you see, it is oxytocin, and it helps in contraction of the uterus during the childbirth. Also, it helps in ejection of the milk so that the milk can be released. So those two are the functions of the oxytocin hormone. Okay, are you clear about it? Now look into the abnormalities due to the pituitary gland malfunction. That is, what will happen if the pituitary gland secretes the hormone in either excess or low concentration. Okay, first let us look at the growth hormone. If growth hormone is over secreted, what will happen? Abnormal growth of the body, and this is called as gigantism. And if it is secreted in low amount, what will happen? It will result in a stunted growth, and it is called as dwarfism. Clear? There is another condition in which excessive growth hormone is secreted in adult condition, especially in the middle age. If it happens so, it causes the severe disfigurement of the face. That is, the face looks very elongated. This condition is called as acromegaly, and it can lead to serious complications and premature death if unchecked. Okay, so remember, GH over secretion, gigantism; low secretion, dwarfism; secretion during over secretion during the middle age causes facial abnormality, otherwise known as acromegaly. Easy to remember? Let's now look at ADH. The impairment in affecting synthesis or release of ADH, it causes the loss in ability of kidney to conserve water, and it leads to water loss as well as dehydration, and this condition is called as diabetes insipidus. So remember, if ADH is less, body cannot reabsorb more water, dehydration condition would be there, and that is known as diabetes insipidus. Don't confuse it with diabetes mellitus, in which the pancreatic cells do not work nicely. Okay, clear about the abnormalities now? Now let's summarize whatever we have read until now. Okay, the pituitary gland, which is also known as the master endocrine gland, it is made up of two parts, right? Anterior, which is known as adenohypophysis; posterior, which is known as the neurohypophysis. Why neurohypophysis? Because it's the extension of the neural networks of hypothalamus, right? This anterior pituitary is made up of pars distalis, which secretes flat pig hormones. Remember, FSH, LH, ACTH, TH, prolactin, and growth hormone. Growth hormone is also known as somatostatin. Okay. Now, what does pars intermedia do? Pars intermedia is responsible for secreting melanocyte stimulating hormone, or MSH. Okay, which affects the skin pigmentation. Remember, and the posterior pituitary is composed of pars nervosa. It is very important NEET trap that posterior pituitary does not synthesize any hormone. It is synthesized by the hypothalamus. Posterior pituitary stores and releases them. So what are the hormones that are stored and released? It is antidiuretic hormone, or ADH, and oxytocin. Clear? I hope you like the easy NCERT tricks as well as mnemonics which we discussed for the pituitary hormones today. If you found this video to be useful, to be engaging, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channels, and share with your friends. Next class, we will be discussing about the other major hormones. Okay, and if you have got any doubt regarding the topic we discussed today, please feel free to comment. I would be happy to answer them. Thank you everyone. Have a very good day.